Welcome to Small Venue Music. Our podcast showcases the amazing local musicians and incredible small music venues right here in Richmond, Virginia. Join us each episode as we talk to musicians, venue owners, and even fans to help everyone get a better understanding of what makes our local music scene so special. Whether you're a musician, a fan of music, or just curious about the local music scene, we think you'll really enjoy the show. In this episode of Small Venue Music, we'll be welcoming Mackenzie Roark to the show. Mackenzie is one of the most talented singer-songwriters to come out of Richmond, Virginia. Her latest album, Rollin High, Feelin Low, is a masterpiece in authentic storytelling of heartbreak and resilience. Her beautiful voice and captivating melodies are inspired by folk, classic country, and rock and roll. Today's episode will be hosted by Don Busick. We really hope you enjoy the show. All right, welcome, Mackenzie, to Small Venue Music. I'm so excited to have you. Your new album has been, I think it's fair to say, the soundtrack of my summer.
Really? Wow.
I have been listening to it every chance I get. Wow. And I'm sure you've heard this before, but I really love it. Like, it's really good. And well, I can't thank you enough for being willing to come on the show.
Oh, gosh,
I really appreciate it.
Of course.
Great. Well, hey, we're going to talk about a lot of things, but I thought the first thing we should talk about is what you did this weekend.
Yeah.
And you were in Bristol, so could you share a little about why you were there and then how it went?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a great weekend, a really cool experience. It was my first music festival playing like as my name, like with my band.
Yeah.
So it was really great. The whole thing came about because last year, a guy named Chris Canfield saw me playing at one of my gigs, just at Courthouse Creek Cider out in Goochland. I was just, doing a regular acoustic gig, and he happened to be there, and he was like, "Man, you're really good." And turns out he works for Virginia Tourism, and he helps kind of with Bristol Rhythm and Roots, and he's like, "I'm gonna get you to Bristol." And I was like, "Man, that'd be awesome." Like, I had just been the year before, just as an attendee.
Okay.
And so because of that, he kind of made this happen for me and a couple other Richmond bands. And so we were all able to go down this year, and it was incredible. I got to bring my band, and it was just packed full. From the time we got there Friday afternoon to yesterday evening. It was just I did a radio interview, I did a solo set at a draft house, and then we had two full band sets, one on Saturday and one on Sunday. They went really well. I was, it's a big thing, being kind of the band leader and being the one that has to kind of have all the answers and be organized and make sure everyone needs to be where they need to be and everyone knows what they need to know. And so, it was a lot of build up to it because I'm just not even stressed, but I'm just there's a lot that needs to be organized, all the set lists, all the travel, all the, who's riding with who, how's it all going to work? But it all went really well, and everyone had a really good time, and we got, I think we were received pretty well, got some really cool, made some connections, got some great feedback, got some cool videos, pictures.
Did you get to see any other artists when you were there?
Yeah, we saw Margot Price, we saw Illiterate Light, I saw an artist named, I think it was Adia Victoria. She was really cool. Yeah. Honestly, there was some rain. And so the rain was kind of messing up the schedule. So when we had free time Saturday evening, we were trying to walk around and be all right, what's going on? And then we kept catching just the very last song, but yeah, saw some cool music for sure. But it was busy. I kind of wish I had caught more, but we just the band just kind of ended up chilling a lot, just together, which is just fun, just to be able to hang out with everyone.
It seems like a really prestigious festival to get invited to play at, and I don't know if folks are aware of the history of it's been going on for almost 11 years.
No, actually 22, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the history of it is from the birthplace of country music, right?
Yeah, so Bristol is a significant place within country music because it's where the first country music was recorded.
Yeah.
So they call them, they're the birthplace of country music. So they have the museum there. They have, a lot of music and things going on there.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, this festival's paying homage to that.
And you've done other festivals before, like Floyd Fest, and
I did Floyd Fest for the past 2 years, but I was a part of other groups.
Other groups that were.
Yeah. So the first year was with a band called the Dharma Bombs. And so I was just kind of like a, honorary member that year. And then the second year was with a band called Devil's Coattails that I was playing with for a little while. But we don't play together anymore.
Right.
And so, yeah,
So this is the true sort of.
Yes. This was the first like Mackenzie Roark.
Right.
Like my name on the poster kind of thing.
All right. Good for you.
Yeah. It was really fun.
Yeah. It actually sounds like you're pretty busy then.
Oh, yeah.
Did you really get to enjoy it?
Yeah, I mean, yes, I don't mind being busy. I like having a job, you know, like, so like this weekend, it's not like I was like, oh, I'm just going to chill. And, I knew it was going to be like this, but I definitely enjoyed it. Like it was really gratifying kind of, I don't know.
Like, I get it, like headliner status.
Yeah. It's just like I was just kind of like proud of myself for like pulling it all off, and being like, we did it,
Well, we're going to talk about you being kind of the CEO of Mackenzie Roark Enterprises in a bit. I'd love to talk to you about your album.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan. For folks who haven't heard it, it's Rollin High, Feelin Low. And, I told you, I think it's fantastic. And it seems clear to me that it's a pretty personal album. And I guess the first question I have for you is how long like in the making has it been? Has it been years in terms of like the songs coming together?
Yeah, I mean the oldest song on that album would be Little Pills, which I wrote in 2017. So I've been playing that song for a while, and then let's see, I'm trying to think of Flowers in the Rain was like 2019. And then the other ones were more recent, I think, for the most part. Well, Drunk Again was also like 2017. So a couple of them were older. But then most of the songs were written between like 2021 and 2022. Okay. So it kind of got to the point where I'm like, all right, I have like all these unrecorded songs I need to like make an album. So it was like, I had 8 songs, which is a short album, but I was like, it's enough.
Yeah. 30 minutes worth of music.
Yeah. And people's attention spans are so short anyways. It's like 8 songs is great. So.
It is, but it hangs together. It's like I listened to it in order. I'm still like old school. I like to listen to albums from the beginning. I had a few questions about songs if you're okay.
Sure.
And stop me if you've heard some of these before.
Yeah.
The first one is about Sweet Thing. And it's a very moving song. At least I found the first time I heard it, and it has this feel about sort of a certain, I guess I'll say, phase of a relationship. Am I interpreting it right?
Yeah, I mean,
and I was wondering if you could, because like whenever you hear a song, you're like, I wonder if this is what it meant to her. Yeah. And now that I get to talk to you, I'm like, well, what did it mean to you?
So, I mean, that song was kind of written about the very tail end of when you know that something is over with and needs to die, but it's hard to actually move on and like cut those ties with that person. And it's kind of like, and you kind of just keep going back to them and you're like,
so stretch it out.
Yeah, just this like long breakup kind of thing. And like, it's hard to just, cut the cord and move on. No one does that, and so it's kind of this sad end phase of a relationship where both of you know that it's over, but it's like, but there's still like love here, there's still comfort here, but it's like we both need to move on and we both know that.
Have you had many folks come up to you after they've heard it several times and so that's connected to them?
I've definitely had
because it's sort of a universal story that
I've had people who are like, I just went through a breakup or a divorce or whatever, like that hits close to home, and I'm like, well, good, like, I mean, that's the goal, is for someone to hear something that I've written and have it connect to something in their life.
Speaking of the title track, Rolling High, Feeling Low, which is a great song. It seemed, at least, it's like telling others, this is what I heard. I wonder if I'm even in the right ballpark. It sort of had a feeling of, I guess what I'll call life resilience. And the image I have in my head when I listen to it is like the feeling of the first spring day after a long, hard winter.
That's amazing. That's like the exact tone I'm going for with that song. And exactly kind of how it came to be. I mean, the song that I wrote kind of directly before Rollin High, Feelin Low was Wasting Away. And that song is a song more of despair and questioning myself and being like, you know, why are you such a loser? Why can't you get your life together? Like, what, you're just wasting away all the time and like just drowning in your own misery. And then Rollin High, Feelin Low was April, you know, April of 2022, and the sun was shining and like somehow life didn't feel so heavy, and like it was just this fleeting moment almost, because it's like, it's not that everything turned around, everything was great, but it was just kind of for this afternoon I was like, you know what, I spent a lot of time being sad and being down on myself, and kind of this, you know, it's sad the golden years I've wasted Rollin High, Feelin Low. I mean, it's just like, you know, life is so fleeting, life is so short, you know, we don't have time to waste it being sad. And of course it's like, we all know that it's hard to live that out, but in that moment when I wrote that song, I felt it, you know.
The thing I loved about it is it's sort of an optimistic song, but it's still sad at the same time. So it's not like it's oh hey, everything's great.
It's not a Target commercial, you know.
Yeah, you can still sort of hear a little bit of the sadness in it, even though there's a life on the other side kind of feel. The other one you talked about that I really loved, it was the first one that you always have, like, you listen to an album, you're like, this one, and then they frankly, they're all great songs. So they all, Little Pills. Yeah. And it seemed in the same ballpark as Sweet Thing, but like a lot darker feeling. Is that, can you share a little bit what was on your mind when you wrote that one? Sounds like it was a long time ago that you
It was 2017 when I wrote Little Pills. It used to be called One Drink Away.
Yeah.
So I changed the title to Little Pills because on the album I already had a song called Drunk Again, and I didn't want to have Drunk Again and One Drink Away. I'm like, I'm not an alcoholic, I swear. So I changed it to Little Pills. But I wrote that in 2017 at the fall. And at that time I was going through a divorce, my first divorce. Yeah. And so I felt very out of sorts with just the world and what I was doing. And my relationship at that time was very challenging, and I wasn't happy. And what I was kind of hearing from him was that I needed to, like, if I could just get on medication, I would love him. Yeah, I would feel better.
Like there's something to fix about you.
There's something to fix about me, and like if I could just, and you know, maybe he wasn't totally wrong, like, but you know, I'm just like, that's not. I don't think that's going to make me love you, you know, and so that's kind of what that's about. And then, but then also at the same time, you know, the second verse is about, you know, kind of my relationship with church and my relationship with that, and like, so. You know, kind of same thing where I was having these problems, and like I was hearing from people in my life that like, oh, if you just go back to church, if you just go back to God, you know, he'll fix it all for you and you'll feel better. And I'm just like, I don't think so. You know, I don't think that that's the thing that's going to like fix my life right now. And so that's kind of what that song's about.
It's interesting you bring up the church part of it, less so from the actual lyrics, but more. One thing I noticed in the chorus is, because there's such a beautiful melody in the chorus that you're singing, even though the words are rough. And you have this background of what I think, and I was curious, it's like vocals and it may be like a steel guitar that's being played. That just creates this like angelic like feel to it while you're singing this beautiful melody. Yeah,
that kind of all came together just in the studio, like. We recorded it just me. I think it was just me, like voice, guitar, upright bass, this banjo, and then it was just that for a while. And then I was listening back, and I'm like, I really want harmonies. And then I was hearing these lines, and I was like, what if we did this? You know, it's a little out there. And then the steel guitar like was a very last minute addition, but it all just kind of came together at the end and turned out to be a really strong song that a lot of people have like really liked. And and that one was honestly like the one that we put the least amount of work into.
Funny how that can happen.
That was just kind of the afterthought song. Like we were working on all the other songs, and it was like, oh yeah, guys, we got to do Little Pills. Like that'll take no time. Like it was just kind of like the last thing.
It's funny because it's the last song on the album. Yeah. And I was curious about how that came to be, because like I've only heard it this way, so it feels like to me the perfect last song on the album, and particularly the line of, you know, we're just one drink away from moving on feels like the last thing that you say. How much did you debate the order of the songs?
So it is something that I really considered, and was talking with Trey. Trey is the person that produced that, my friend, Trey Burnart Hall. he helped me, he produced the album. So I was kind of talking with him. I'm like, what makes sense? And we're like, let's start with, kind of these heavy hitter, like this, singles kind of up front.
Yeah.
And so a lot of thought did go into it, and I wanted to end with Little Pills. It just seemed to make sense. I don't know, just to end with that, on that kind of quieter note,
Well, I think you nailed it. You actually brought up Trey, because I saw this was recorded at Vocal Rest Records here in Richmond, and I'm curious for you as a solo artist now, how, when you came in to work with a producer, and how much of what you envisioned the songs to be when you created them, and then you go into the studio, how much did they evolve as you went through it? And were there any particular songs where like, hey, it came in as a ballad and it came out something else, or anything?
Nothing changed like too much. I really like the process of recording, because I love this opportunity to like flesh out these songs and like bring all these other minds into it and be like, what do you hear? And so it's such a fun kind of experiment, of what works, what doesn't work. But yeah, I mean, like we did a lot of pre-production kind of arranging. So when we went in to record, we knew what we were doing.
Sort of the structure of it.
Yeah, we pretty much knew. And then we could kind of add like, all right, do we want harmonies? Do we want this? Do we, what's going to sound good? We kind of built it from there. But as far as like arrangements, and a lot of those songs I've been playing for years. Or at least, a couple months or maybe a year at that time. Yeah. So none of them were like super, super fresh.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say like Rollin High, Feelin Low, the song kind of turned out like with the organ and all of that, like kind of like in a way that I could have never imagined it when I just wrote it solo. Yeah. But I love the way it turned out. I think it's got a good just kind of flow to it.
For folks who have never recorded or aren't really in the music industry, can you describe what it's like to work with a producer? And someone like, because I'm sure folks like, what does a producer do?
Right.
And it's such an important role.
Yeah. The producer is kind of like, the principal of the school. Yeah. He's kind of like just like in charge in a way, is overseeing the whole project. The project manager, I suppose. And I think some artists who really, really have a strong ear for these things tend to produce their own stuff. But I love to pass that on to someone else, because I don't feel as strongly, like I know, how things should sound.
Yeah.
So with Trey, he's recorded a lot of music. He's played in a lot of bands. He's really well versed in all of this and how things should sound and what's gonna kind of give it this sound and this vibe. Yeah. And I'm like, so it's kind of hard sometimes communicating what's in your brain to someone else and be like, okay, this is what I'm thinking. And like you send them like, okay, this is what I like. This is what I like. How do we do this? But like with my songs, So it's really good because it's a good collaborative effort of we both want to make something that's really great, that we're proud of. But yeah, the producer just kind of is the one that's like, okay, now let's try it this way. Yeah. Okay, let's just try it this way. They're the person that's kind of directing, sort of the thing, and is working more closely with the sound engineer and saying like, okay, adjust the whatever. Yeah. I don't really speak audio engineering.
But creatively, did you feel like you had your fingers in all of it, or was it?
I mean, with Trey and Vocal Rest, it's not like, he's not like a producer, he produces everyone on Vocal Rest Records. He's kind of the producer, but like, he's not like a full-time music producer. Yeah. So it's kind of like, we're both working together, and so it's anything that I want to do, I am able to do.
But from the tone of the way you're talking about it, sounded like a really fun experience.
Oh yeah. So fun.
You put out an EP several years back too, Mother's Tongue, and so you got a little taste of it. How did the experience
that
from
was very different.
I was going to ask, how different was it?
It's so different because at that time I was only like 23 or 24, and I didn't really know anyone. I didn't really know what I was doing. All I knew is that I had these songs, and I was like, let's record. So with that, I have a connection with Mark Bryan, who is of Hootie and the Blowfish fame.
I'd heard this.
So my mom kind of like went to high school with him or like grew up in his orbit. And so like one of her close friends like dated him. And so she's like, oh, let's see if, and he's still very actively doing music down in Charleston and has produced some people. And so they're like, maybe Mark Bryan can help you. And so we made this connection. And so for that, I went down to Charleston. He has like a home studio. So I stayed there for like a week and we just did these songs. And he was the producer for that. So he orchestrated kind of all the musicians that were going to play on it and all this stuff. And he's working with the sound guy to be like, and I was just kind of there, and in that way it was like I had my songs and of course I had to say on how I wanted it, to sound, but he was kind of like, all right, he was kind of more in charge because I just didn't know what I was doing. So it was a great first experience, wouldn't trade it. It was great. I mean, I think I definitely got a lot of miles out of that first EP, allowed me to book a lot of gigs and stuff like that. I don't really play those songs anymore just because they're old hat for me. And I just don't really, except for Rosalie is the one song off of that I still play.
That's good because that's my favorite one.
Yeah, it's the best one. It's the best one. And so it's like, that one has carried through.
Yeah.
So, but other than that, I'm like, it's fine. I don't really need those songs, but they helped me. They helped me kind of get to, this next thing.
It sounds like you were in a different phase of life and a lot more knowledgeable going in this time.
Yes, 100%. Like even with the songwriting, I'm like, these songs are a lot more knowledgeable. What I'm writing now, the songs I used to write were very just kind of fictional, just kind of like fluff. I don't know. It's kind of how I see them. Not that they didn't have their own, quality to them, but yeah, it's like now I know so many musicians. I've been a part of bands. Yeah. I have these people I can call and be like, yeah, like, can you come play on this? Or, so a lot more connected and having worked on a lot of other recording projects with other bands and other things like that, I just have a much better knowledge of kind of how it all works. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, hey, you said you'd play some of these songs on this show.
Sure.
So, before we get started, is it you want to talk about any of the ones you're going to play, or did we already talk about them?
I mean, we mentioned Little Pills. I'll go ahead and play Little Pills.
Okay. Well, we'll take a quick break, get everything set up, and I'm really excited for you to play. So thanks.
I know you want me to say I should have been strong enough to buy my lip and stay. But have you seen yourself? You're spending all your money and the remnants of your health. You put your hand on my back, pull me in so I can feel kindness you lack. It's the same old same. Beat your chest and grab your wrist and loudly lay your claim. You can tell it I'm crazy, that I need little pills. You can tell me I love you, oh, but I never will. Ask me more questions so I can answer them wrong, 'cause I'm just one drink away from moving on. They say the devil's in my head, weakening the warrior who's frail and underfed. And if I cast aside my sins, I just might see the point in all this holy hollering. And I've been searching high and low, and what it is I'm searching for, man, I don't even know. And if I land on Jesus Christ, I guess the church is pretty and the people sure are nice. You can tell just one drink away from moving on. 'Cause I'm just one drink away from moving on.
Mackenzie, that was truly fantastic.
Thanks.
I loved it.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Wow. Could I tempt you to do one more for us?
Yeah, sure.
Oh,
Happy to. All right. I'll go ahead and do Sweet Thing.
okay.
Stop me, I've done this all before, but I'm feeling down and turning up again at your door. And we don't have to argue anymore if you let me stay a while. And you have been so heavy on my mind, but I'm lonelier tonight than I've been in the longest time. No matter where we stand, I know I'll find comfort in your smile. And I used to call you sweet thing, and now I only call you when I'm sad. And if I let you hold me, would it be so bad? Empty cans and every kind of bill are turning into little mountains on your windowsill. Remember how it felt to love me still? I wonder if you can. You can throw me out tomorrow if you must. Getting bored with what we once loved happens to the best of us. But we can let our reasons turn to dust if you take me by the hand. And I used to call you sweet thing, and now I only call you when I'm sad. And if I let you hold me, would it be so bad? Stop me, I've said this all before, but you're turning to a heartache that I'm failing to ignore. And I don't want to do this anymore, but it's gonna be a while. It is gonna be a while.
Wow. That was great.
Thanks.
So good. So good.
Thank you.
Well, thanks so much for doing
Yeah.
that. All right, we'll be right back in a second. All right, we're back. Thanks so much for doing that. It was so good.
Yeah,
So good.
No problem.
Yeah, hey, I wanted to switch a little bit and talk about all the other things you have to do as kind of a professional musician, and you really have to be the CEO of Mackenzie Roark Music. And for folks that don't know what goes into it, could you describe, besides besides the singing, the songwriting, and the playing, what are all the hats you have to wear?
Yeah, so, for years I have done kind of the solo acoustic game of, playing a lot of shows, just me and the guitar for 3 hours. So, that life, doing that for years, that's kind of where I've been comfortable. and that I wouldn't say is easy by any stretch, but it's simple. It's simple because you just kind of reach out to all the places, all the breweries, all the restaurants, all the wineries, and then you kind of get into their like booking cycle, and then you just kind of get booked, and it kind of like runs itself in a way. So like it used to be kind of like that, but now I'm trying to transition to being less of a background music artist to being more of like a venue, someone that's you listen to, like go to intentionally see and listen to. I think having a band helps with that too. So now it's like, now that I have a band and now that I kind of have these goals of trying to get into festivals and trying to, I have these like big, like major goals, at all times that I'm always trying to reach. And so in order to do those things, I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. It takes a lot of, I hate the word networking, but I mean, it takes a lot of networking. It takes a lot of, knowing who is in charge of what and getting that information and finding that out and befriending people who have that information and being like, all right, who books for Floyd Fest? Who does Friday Cheers? Who does, all these things, and trying to get to the bottom of it. So that's, kind of its own little task. And then, with kind of managing like bookings and things like that. And I feel like I'm just always constantly, I feel like my job is just like being in constant communication with like everyone all the time. And so it's like a lot of emails, a lot of Instagram, a lot of, people reaching out with different inquiries, about, having us play, having me on to do something, like this. And so a lot of communication in that way and a lot of organization and keeping, my calendar really organized. And then, when it comes to doing something like a music festival or doing something kind of big with the band, I mean, that takes a lot of coordination in terms of practicing. These are the songs that we are doing. These are the things we need to work on this week. It's like being like a teacher in a way and having lesson plans and like being like, you have to like plan everything out and kind of be in, as opposed to like a band where like everyone's kind of like equally, like someone does the booking, someone does the social media, someone does the, writing. It's kind of like I'm just sort of doing all the things.
That's what I was curious about, because it sort of sounds like you have 4 full-time jobs in this, if not more. And so, like, if you could, can you get more help?
Yeah, I'm kind of working on that right now. I'm really interested in working with some sort of management / booking agent. Yeah, because I think with that will allow me to, if someone else is handling my booking, I feel that I can probably start to play bigger and better shows, as opposed to all the 3-hour long shows at like a restaurant out in, the boonies.
I get it.
Which is great. I've been doing that for years. It's very much where I'm comfortable. Yeah. And so going on to playing bigger shows and even, like Bristol, like these bigger festivals and stuff like that. It's out of my comfort zone. It's definitely growing me and stretching me because I'm like used to being in the corner, and I can just feel very comfortable with that.
Well, you've got the chops to be on the main stage, so I'm glad to hear you're pushing yourself to do it.
Yeah, totally.
And I was wondering if, because there's a lot that goes into it, I was wondering if the ability to book and that, but also the social presence, all the marketing you have to do. Yeah. And now you run a band in a sense. Right?
Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit about your band?
Yeah.
And just like how it came to be and maybe a little of who's in it?
Sure. Yeah. So the name of my band is The Hot Pants.
I was going to make you say it so I didn't have to.
Because you're The Hot Pants. We've been thinking of band names kind of all year, but The Hot Pants has been like in my head. Yeah. And I'm just like.
It cracks me up whenever I see it.
Yeah. So it's just like, it's kind of catchy. It's just kind of like, I don't know. I like The Hot Pants. I feel like it works with kind of the brand that I'm going for of kind of like sort of throwback, like kind of a retro sort of style. But the band came together last year when we recorded the album. I was like, all right, I really want to start playing with a full band, because I used to have a band called Pistol Sister years ago, and then COVID kind of broke that up, and some other things kind of broke that up. And so now is like Mackenzie Roark with full band. I was trying to figure out who all that was going to be. And so last year played a number of different shows with kind of different lineup and trying out different people and just seeing what works. And then in January is kind of when my sort of current lineup came together. So I have Drew, so my drummer is Drew Barnicky. He was the drummer with Pistol Sister, so he's been playing with me for a long time, and he played drums on the whole album. And then Billy Bocci has been a friend for a while. He played bass on the album, but then when it kind of, the person that was playing lead guitar, it was like, all right, we need like a lead guitarist. And so Billy's like, I actually know all the lead guitar parts. Right. And I was like, of course you do. And he just like flawlessly delivers that, and also plays piano and also plays 12 string. And so he's like instrument swapping like all the time when we're playing as a band, but he's like so talented. I mean, like he's really helped a lot with like giving the songs dynamics, you know? And so, and then on bass, Matt Moran, he just joined us in January, started playing with us, and he's been super great. And then on, we had been playing with a lap steel player, John Bradbury, and he plays with us still. But then we also have a fiddle player who's Caroline Vane. So we've played with both of them. Those are kind of the auxiliary, like if someone's not available, we'll kind of I'll take either one of them. I was going to
ask if it's a set band or if you swap some people in and out depending on needs.
Yeah, I would say for the gigs, it's like, or if we get a show, it's like Billy, Drew, and Matt have to be available because I don't want to find a replacement lead guitarist or a replacement bassist, or like I just want them. But like if John is not available, be like Caroline, or if Caroline is not available, you know, between the two of them. And then if neither of them are available, we could probably make it work as a 4-piece, you know.
How do you decide when you're playing full band versus playing solo?
So full band, it has to be worth it for them. Meaning like, I'm not going to be like, hey guys, come play this 3-hour set at this place. It pays $300 that we all have to split, and we have to run our own sound. I'm never going to do that. You know, I'm never going to do that to them. So with the band, it has to be, I really hate doing 2-hour gigs with the band. I would much rather do a 45-minute set to a 1-hour set to give like a show, you know, like be like, this is a show. So I like doing shows with the band that are like at a venue, like the Camel, Get Tight, Gallery 5, a venue, you know, and we're sharing the night with other bands, you know, because then it's more of a showcase, you know, and it's more like, these are my songs with full instrumentation, you know, and this is how they're being displayed and presented to the world. Because and then these other kind of bar background music gigs, I'm like, I can handle that on my own very easily. So I don't need the band.
Do you still enjoy I hesitate to call them background.
Right.
At least when I've seen you at one of those places, you're still in the foreground with me.
Right.
Do you still enjoy it?
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Like, it's just relaxing for me. It's just so like second nature at this point, you know. It's just so like, all right, set up all my stuff, get my sound perfect, and I just like cruise, you know. And it's fun to try out new stuff. It's great to be like, all right, like I'm really trying to learn this new song. I'm gonna play at these gigs to like really like get me ready for when it matters, when people are really, really listening, you know. And so I feel like having played all those gigs, it has like trained me to be like, just to like know these songs because I've played them so many times.
Right. So you hinted at this bit, a little bit of like where you want to go. So this is kind of like an interview question, but like, what's the, like, hey, if you could kind of plan out like where you want to be in, you know, a year or
like
two?
A year, 2 years. I mean, I'd love to, be working with like a legit kind of booking agent and touring, honestly. I'd love to, you know, one of my short-term goals is like being opening support for a larger act that is touring major venues, major cities, and I kind of hop in the van and go, you know, and open for them, you know, and expose my music to their audience. I think that is like one of my biggest like short-term goals. So that, you know, I'm trying to play Friday Cheers next year. It might so I think it might happen. So you know, that's like a big goal. So I like to think of this music career thing in terms of like a year at a time, and I'm like, what are my goals for 2023? Okay, now I've accomplished almost all of them except for playing a Saturday at the Camel. That has been my main one, and I've had all sorts of reasons that hasn't happened, but other than that, I feel like I've checked off everything, and I'm already starting to set 2024 goals. So in January I'm going over to Europe, and I'm probably going to be there for about a month, and I'm trying to set up shows. I really want to do a little Euro tour.
Fun.
So that's kind of like what I'm working on now, and then a few more festivals for next year, and then just kind of get some like more support, like management tour type support, and then on top of that, I want to do a second album.
That's what I was going to ask. Second album, do you have anything in the hopper, or are you?
I have.
And are you going to stay in the same genre, or are you going to?
Yeah, I would like to make a rock and roll album.
Really?
Yeah,
I can see it.
But of course, like, still with fiddle, still with lap steel, still with some of these instruments, that because I like those instruments, but I do kind of. A few of the songs that I already know would be on it are kind of rocking, and so not the whole thing. I still want to have some sweet, songs on there as well. So yeah, I'm working towards that and really trying to. It's hard, honestly. It's hard sometimes to find time for songwriting. Yeah. And that is something that really comes and goes sometimes with life. And I go through a phase where I'm like really inspired, like with Rollin High, Feelin Low. Like, I want to say 5 of those songs came into existence within like 2 months of each other.
Really? So they just sort of poured out of you? Yeah,
like it's just kind of, that was like a real difficult time of life. And so I was writing a lot. And so now I'm kind of like happy, So I'm just like, what is there to write about anymore? So, but life is always changing. So who knows? But I'm still trying to work on music as much as I can. I'm really kind of looking forward to fall and winter and down, like a little bit of a downtime. There's never really like downtime, but
I was wondering because you started to hint to this, like, what is the day in the life like for a working musician?
It's so
is
random.
It random,
it's
or
so,
is it
every week is so different. It's like because I have other jobs and other responsibilities that are not music, like
right.
So it's but not like a ton, but like I still have like those things. So it's basically like, I mean, I do treat this as my full-time. I am full-time musician, more or less.
From looking at your schedule, I don't know how you fit anything else in, but I mean, everyone's got to pay the bills in other ways. But
right, but it's mostly music, and so I kind of like, I wake up and I sit at my computer, and I basically every week have like a list of tasks that I need to take care of that week. Yeah, in terms of all the things I'm organizing, the different practices I need to have, the different songs I need to be learning for these different shows that I'm a part of. Different, communications and people to be reaching out to. Right now I'm trying to like do this Europe thing, so I'm like emailing a million different random bars in France being like, can I come play, like just, so it's just like always things to be working on. So I try to, day in the life is pretty much like working on all of the admin stuff for a couple hours. And then there's, social media and like the time that takes, which is not like, I don't really let that consume a whole lot of my time, but sometimes it's like, I got to create graphics and
I get it,
whatever. So yeah. And then beyond that, it's like gigging, playing, practicing.
I can see how it could be hard to find time for actual songwriting.
It can be. You got to like really I have been really disciplined in the past. Like this summer, I really let it go kind of lax because I've just been having fun.
Well, you put out an amazing album, so you should share it with everybody. Yeah.
So, but like when I am really disciplined with songwriting, I have kind of a mode that I get in and a sort of a ritual to it. And so I'm like, I need to get back to that, but I can't force it. It has to feel like I really want to do that. But I still, I practice writing, at least several times a week.
Is there anything you can share about how you do it?
How I write?
Yeah.
I mean, songs kind of come in so many different ways. Sometimes it starts as a melody that I kind of hear, maybe just that comes to me like on a walk or something. Sometimes it's I'm fiddling around on the guitar and something will come and it'll start as a melody and maybe a melody and like one phrase, like, oh, this fits into this. And then I'll kind of build a song around that. Or sometimes just a line will kind of come to me, and so from there I'll be like, I want to build a song around that. So usually there's kind of a starting point, and then I try to build from there. But one thing I try not to do is like force the completion of a song, and that's what's really hard because it's like I have all these unfinished songs, but I'm like, I don't want to force it because if it's like I don't want these forced lyrics. I feel like I can always look back on my songs and I know the songs that I forced, I forced it to fit, and I'm always like, I don't like it, And so I'm like, I'm just trying to make it like, I just want it to all like come to me, and it's a hard thing to nurture this like, inspirational source, and you're just trying to like capture it all the time. Like I just like want inspiration all the time, and it's tricky.
It sounds like it. Particularly, at least my impression is, you're really disciplined about your lyrics. And I realize it sounds like, really, I mean, because you do turn a phrase really well, and I can sort of like it connects. And
thanks.
So I was really curious, like how you did it.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
I lyrics are really important to me. I was an English major and I got my master's in creative writing, and so
Hold on for that. We're gonna talk
yeah, I
about
guess we'll
some
talk
of this.
about that. We'll talk about
Yeah.
that. But I've always been the thing that has always drawn me to music. Maybe not all of music, but when I first was really kind of like really hit by like music when I was like in high school, middle school, high school, was like the lyrics. The lyrics are the things that always kind of like stand out to me in the words and the message and how things are stated. And so that's why my favorites are these like lyrical geniuses, and I'm just like, and I appreciate so many different types of music. I can certainly appreciate music that is just fun and doesn't have, deep introspective lyrics, but, and not all of my music is super deep and introspective, but I think that if it's going to be a song, it should be clever. I think that, if you're going to like turn words into a song, they should be special. They should be not just something you would say just like any old day, or it can be, but like with a twist. It's like, it's good to be plain spoken because you don't want to be too heady, it'll turn people off. But if, be plain spoken, but like with a cleverness to it, that's what I'm kind of going for.
Well, I think you're succeeding because that's,
Thank you.
a lot of my questions were sort of headed in that direction of asking you you started going there, but let's talk about how you got you got started. So could you share just at the very beginning, like when did you start playing?
Sure. I started playing guitar in 5th grade. So, my uncle had given my brother an acoustic guitar, and I was a child who just kind of never knew what I was good at, like I was never athletic, did not do the sports, I was just always kind of trying different things. And so I was just like, I'm not good at anything. And then, at some point, was kind of interested in the guitar in my brother's room, and he wasn't really playing it. And I was like, well, I kind of want to learn. And I had a dream that I knew how to play guitar. And so I woke up and I was like, in my dream, I knew how to play guitar. And like, so I, started taking guitar lessons. And so that went on for a couple years. And then that was in Maryland. And then we moved to Virginia when I was in 6th grade. And at my church, there was like a middle school youth worship band kind of thing. So in like 8th grade or something like that. Basically my parents made me do it.
Really?
They're like, you're doing this.
Is this your first like time in front of?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. Was other than I was doing kind of musical theater. So I was in 5th grade, I started as Annie in my 5th grade play.
We're going to go search for the videos.
Yeah. There is one that exists. My Uncle Mike has it.
Okay.
I haven't seen it in many years, but that was my kind of debut as a performer and like learning that I knew kind of how to sing. And previous to that, I was very shy and did not want to be in the spotlight at all. But I kind of had this dream of being a star, it's like a lot of like little girls do, even though I'm so shy, but I like learned to sing with my like projection voice, like with my diaphragm, I suppose. I learned how to sing. I don't know how, I just discovered how to do it. And so I was Annie, and I like tasted that little bit of like people being like, you're so good, and I was like, maybe I found something I'm good at, like I'm good at this, and so from there, guitar, and then church, and then kind of did, church band for a long time. High school I went to Christian school, so did like chapel, like, all of that. So it very much started with church, which is a great place to learn how to play and sing at the same time. And also learn how to perform in front of people without it being really scary, because it's worship. It's not a performance. You know what I mean? So it's like, they're not looking at you. We're here for God. So it's like very low stakes, and all the worship songs are like literally 3 chords. It's so easy. So it was a great place to start. And then from there, in college, I was listening to a lot of Bob Dylan and Leonard Cohen and these, I was just like, I want to write songs. And so I was and I've always been a journaler. I've always been a writer, and I've always written down thoughts. And so I think for the first time, it was like late high school, early college, I was starting to try to write songs. And of course, they're all terrible, but started to kind of do open mics. And I was going to ask,
because you went to JMU, right?
Yes, I went to JMU.
Were you an active performer at JMU?
Not really. So like freshman year, I like did a couple open mics, and then sophomore year, I met one of my good friends, Sarah Wilcox, and she was a music major. And so we met and we started singing together. We formed like a little little group.
Yeah.
And we had a drummer with us, Kelly. And so it was the three of us. And so we had like a little group, little folk group.
Yeah.
A couple original songs because she also wrote. So between the two of us, we had some original songs, but a lot of covers. But we would play at like this Irish pub every Tuesday or whatever. And then we'd play, a couple spots around town. And I was like, man, we could make money this way. Like, this is so much better than like working at the dining hall or whatever. It's like we could like make money just like playing at the bar, it's so great. And so I'm like, this is the best way to make money. And so from there,
and it feels like a lot of money in those days.
Oh, in those
too.
days, yeah. It was like, it was great. And the tips and stuff, and like a couple cute girls in the corner. Everyone's like, take my money. So it was great. And so from there, I really was like, I think meeting Sarah and playing with her and learning like I can perform in front of people and harmonize and people like it, and it from there it really propelled me. And then I went and got my master's degree in Ireland, and I was part of a creative writing program over there. Yeah. And the head of that department is a man named Joseph O'Connor, who is Sinead O'Connor's older brother. And he's a like famed author, like in Ireland, very well known. And so, but he comes from obviously a love of music and a musical background, with his sister. And he has like deep appreciation of the greats of, Dylan and all these people. And so we got to talking about that, and it was a very small program, only 12 people, but everyone was either, focused on poetry or prose. And I kind of started thinking I wanted to do poetry or prose, because I do love writing. I mean, writing is like always been a huge part. Just writing prose has been a huge part of me. But I went over there and I was like, I started playing open mics and started like meeting people through music over there, not really through the school, but through just like the town and just like the music scene over there. And I was like, I'm gonna write songs. And so I talked to him, and he's like, submit songs for your projects, do songs. And so we'd worked like I'd submit a song instead of a story, and we'd workshop it. And then for my big thesis project afterwards, he's like, do 12 songs and record them, and then I had to write a piece to go with it or whatever. So that was my thesis, was these songs.
So how many years were you in Ireland?
Just one. Okay. It was a 1-year program. It was great. It
sounds incredible.
It was great. I mean, it was like really dreary and gray, and I was like, I miss Richmond, and blah, blah, blah. But like it was so great. Like,
what an adventure, yeah.
It was an adventure, and it really was like me. I was just over there by myself, like just completely by myself. And I managed to like meet all sorts of random friends and, play music. And I really want to, when I go back over to Europe, I'm really trying to set up a show. I was in Limerick, Ireland. So third biggest city. It's kind of the Wild West of Ireland. And really fun town. But so that's kind of, I was over there, did a lot of songwriting. And then from there came home in 2016, came back to Richmond. And I was like, all right, this is how I'm going to be like making money. And so I just by then I had one YouTube video that I made with my friend over in Ireland, sent it to like every single place that I knew did live music, and then started kind of booking that way.
And that's sort of when you started your, hey, I'm going to go into this.
Yeah, kind of,
Trying to be a musician.
Yeah, and I've had so many jobs like alongside it, but that.
Still, what a fascinating journey. I have to think that creative writing, well, you tell me, it would seem like it would play a huge role in why you are such a good lyricist.
Thank you. Yes, I totally believe so. Yeah. I mean, I really value the fact that I have that background, and it's like, no, I'm not a writer, but I kind of am. And like, it's really helped me because it allows me to view my lyrics through the lens of a workshop of if this was being critiqued, by 12 people, all sitting at a table together, what might they say? Yeah. So it does. I think it has helped me a lot.
Great. Hey, this will probably come out in September. Could you share with folks maybe any notable October, or I guess October, November shows that you're going to play? If you have any place that folks should know to come see you live? Yeah.
Well, end of September, just in case this comes out before. Yeah. End of September.
We'll do our best.
September 28th, the band is playing Poe Museum Unhappy Hour on the 28th. So that's a Thursday. And that's kind of so we're doing that. And then October 7th, we're doing a tribute to John Prine night at the Camel. Ooh. So that's, this is the third year that's actually going on. I played it the first year, wasn't around last year. And then this year, the full band is playing. We're going to to do like 3 John Prine songs and like a song or 2 of ours.
Yeah.
So that's October 7th. And then I have some solo gigs. I'm trying to like set up some like cool stuff for the end of the year. Another full band show. We're playing in Harrisonburg at the Golden Pony. So back to Harrisonburg.
Yeah.
And I, of course, when I was in school at JMU, would go there all the time. It was called the Blue Nile at the time, but so now it's the Golden Pony. So
like
I'm very
going back home.
Yeah,
for,
I'm really excited because
triumphant
I've seen so many bands there, and so to be able to go and play with the band will be awesome. So I'm really excited about that, and then New Year's, I mean, if we're going that, I mean, like, this is a big show. New Year's at the Get Tight Lounge, not as Mackenzie Roark in the Hot Pants, but I'm doing an all-girl Blondie tribute band. Really? And that whole night is going to be tribute bands from, like, the early 80s. The theme is, like, 1983. So it's going to be all big bands from, like, 1983, 1984, like, around that time. So we're going to be Blondie. So that'll be a really good one.
That sounds like
I want to get that on people's radar.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Well, hey, Mackenzie, thank you so much for being on the show. I can't thank you enough. You truly have a special talent, as I'm sure you've heard this before, as a singer, a songwriter, and a lyricist. Like, it's really impressive.
Thank you.
You know, I think Rollin High, Feelin Low is just an amazing body of work.
Aww.
And I hope you're really proud of it. Because I've been sharing with so many of my friends, and everyone loves it. And I'm really excited to see what you put out next.
Yeah.
So we'll be looking forward to sort of a new release from you, hopefully in the next year or two.
Yeah.
And I can't thank you enough for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you for listening to today's show. Please like or subscribe to our podcast to be notified of each new episode, and follow us on all of our social media channels. If you are a local Richmond band or venue owner and you'd like to be featured on the show, please feel free to send us an email at smallvenuemusic@gmail.com. We'd love feedback on each episode, so please leave a comment to let us know how we're doing. Thanks again for listening.